Hello from my bedroom. We're back to the green. I love the green. If you didn't know, green is my favourite colour. Anyway, I'm having a really weird day, and British weather is doing its thing. It's been snowing. I hate snow because snow in this country means the apocalypse because we are not made for it. And it's not as bad as everywhere else, but we are not made for snow. Like a centimetre of snow will bring this country to a standstill. On that side note, wrap-up time. What have I been reading? What am I reading right now? And where did we go? So I'm going to start with the bottom of the pile and work my way through it. Let's laugh, shall we? So, I read A Court of Owls. I was sent this by the publisher. This is one of my favourite Batman stories. It's just fantastic, and I love this take on it. I love the writing. I love everything about it. I'm a big fan of the Harley Quinn book that Titan also did, because I'm not a great lover. I've stated this before of the DC Icon series. They're very YA-ish, and it's all a little bit meh, where these actually are far truer to the subject matter and the mood of these iconic stories. Why, I will say, not the most amazing pieces of literature on the planet. They tell the story in a beautiful way, and I would wholeheartedly recommend any of these books by Titan to anyone. And on that note, I have another one in that series, The Killing Joke. I adore The Killing Joke. It's one of my favourite Batman stories. Actually, no, it is my favourite Batman story. I think it is brilliant. It is a product of the time. A friend pointed out some misogyny in it. But actually, to be blunt, it is a product of the era it was written in. And it's fantastic and brilliant and dark and kind of like a psychological breakdown of the Batman. And you realise that him and the Joker are not that different. They're both sociopaths in their own unique and somewhat terrifying way. So, do pick these two up, guys. These are brilliant. Vox. I love The Handmaid's Tale. The Handmaid's Tale is one of my favourite books ever written, to be honest with you. It's fantastic, and this echoes that. This is different to The Handmaid's Tale, where The Handmaid's Tale is a reflection of the 80s. This is a reflection of now. A super right-wing, ultra-conservative Christian movement to take over America. It's already sounding a bit familiar, isn't it? And this new government everything has changed for this new government. Overnight, bank accounts are frozen, passports taken away, 7 million women lose their jobs. Even more terrifying, young girls are no longer taught to read or write. She can only say 150 words a day. And if she says any more than those words, she will receive a rather large electric shock. And, correction, 100 words a day. I know why I said 150, because a press release I read about this book was incorrect. It's a fantastic, fantastic book, and scary at the same time. It's one of those that will terrify you and make you think, and then, yeah, it's kind of scary. You know, this is happening, you can see this happening, and the same goes for The Handmaid's Tale. I would quite happily put this next to that. This book is powerful, and it packs a punch, and that's what makes it terrifying at the same time. How to Stop Time. Now, I really like this writer, and I really like this book. Someone didn't particularly like it because of, I posted this on my community feed, and someone left a comment. And it was quite interesting. While I do agree with what they were saying, this isn't a supernatural, immortal novel. This is a person who's just aging much, much slower than the rest of us, who will eventually die. He's not immortal. He's not been alive. He will age, and he looks 41, but he's actually been alive for centuries, from Elizabethan England to Jazz Paris, and I really enjoy the writing style. It's easy. It's not It's not a great piece of literature by any means, but it's easy reading, it's enjoyable reading with relatable and interesting characters, and quite a sad story. I think there's a lot of metaphors in this, and it packs an amazing punch with lines. I read this in a train journey, so yeah, perfect book for that. And I want the illustrated edition because that is apparently a thing, and I didn't know about it, so I will be buying that. Now, this was sent to me by Titan, and I managed to read this through in a weekend. It's speculative fiction, and storms and flooding are worsening around the world, and a mysterious immune disorder has begun to affect a young person. And it starts out in a senior in high school in Toronto with her little sister. Her parents' marriage falls apart. Mother takes the girls to Oxford, England. This is speculative fiction. It's near future. I like this kind of book. I picked it out because they sent me the list and they said it had Neil Gaiman on it, and I can actually see why he rated this. This book is quite scary in places, and I don't want to give too much away, but because we are living in an age of climate change and we're watching the world in extremes now, and who knows what will come of that, be it new diseases, be it new this, new that, and the whole anti-vax movement, which is putting lives at risk. Viruses, bacteria, things mutate. And Jesus Christ, this packs a punch. This is a fantastic book, and while it didn't quite it wasn't quite as, I would say it's not as good as the previous mentions in this list. It's still a very good book. I like the writing style and I like the characters, and obviously the writer knows Oxford very well, which is quite refreshing to read a book about Oxford where you actually feel like you're in Oxford. And side note, cover artist. Yeah, just to say, I'm not normally a cover person, but that's rather pretty. I just want to say. Reservation 13. I had the great pleasure of seeing this writer talk at the Derby Book Festival last year, and he was part of the Literary Friction podcast thing. This is basically intertwining stories, and I cannot describe this book in a way that would make it sound, in my own words, make myself sound intelligent. This is one of those books you have to sit down and read. It's very much a Marmite book. You're either going to love it or you're going to hate it, but I really loved it, and it packs this incredible punch, and it has a lot of weight to it, and it's a beautiful exercise in writing. This is the only weak link in this entire haul, this entire wrap-up. Why I did enjoy this book, I like the whole notion of it, this slight alternative history, conspiracy theories, and it is genuinely a really good book. It didn't do anything new for me, but I did enjoy it. It's one of those read once books for me. Why I rate it quite highly, it's a book I will never revisit. I didn't particularly get on with the writer's style. I don't know what it was, but I just found her writing style very dense, and the middle of the book slowed down. I will still rate this quite highly. I don't give numbers, but it's a good book. But the story is very good, and I like the characters. I didn't enjoy the world building, and I didn't particularly enjoy the writer's sort of heavy-handedness. But it's still a very enjoyable book. It's not one I will read again, but it's one that if you see it on your library bookshelf, I'd recommend trying it. It also kind of does something very different with the whole notions of The Walking Dead and zombies. So maybe it's just the zombie thing, because zombie books are very difficult to get right for me. But I mean, I'll still rate it 3.5 out of 5, so it's not bad by any means. It just didn't quite hit the right notes for me. So there we go. That is a wrap up. And what have you guys been reading? I also want to say thanks to all the new people that are coming to this channel. It's amazing, and thank you guys. And you will see videos from me every Monday and Thursday, and all of my links are down below in the doobly-doo. Bye.